speaker, iPods. There we go. Now I'm good. I promise. We're good. Let's hit go on this again. So, all right. So take 14. All right. So it's been a little minute since we've talked about the draft. You know, I think the last time that you and I really had spoken was second night of the draft, I think, and then we just kind of hit back and forth on Twitter, just kind of on the picks as we went, just because one, we knew that those rounds were going to be pretty much just a shotgun approach. I mean, they just go so fast. And the fact that we had a huge window between those rounds in there, we lost quite a bit of ground in there. But, you know, we haven't really had a chance to, we broke down the first couple picks, I think the first 2 days. But we've had a good while now to sit and digest and kind of hear some of the things that, you know, either the national media has put out there, social media has put out there, and, you know, everything else in between. So I just kind of want to get our take on a few things, maybe hit on the draft class, knowing that, okay, we've been able to kind of see these guys a little bit. We've seen the undrafted free agents, kind of what that class looks like, and then some of the free agent moves and the, you know, the waiver, I guess I'm going to call them the waiver end of it, or the waiver roster part. There's been kind of some surprising waivers and some surprising retirements. I guess there's one there, and then we've had some surprising free agency signings. So I guess we'll just start there and just kind of get your thoughts on the draft and what you think now that you've had some time to digest it.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is it sucks that Sewell has COVID and that he's not going to be able to participate in the rookie mini camps.
Yeah, that's a bummer, man. It really is.
I was really looking forward to seeing what he was able to go ahead and do in the camps. I know we're going to have OTAs and all that, but just to get all the rookies together, I know I've already seen a good amount of them are in town in Detroit now.
Yep.
And I think he's honestly the only one that is unable to be there, but it's just exciting. Go ahead and see. I was stoked when I saw who we drafted. It took a minute to go ahead and sink in and trust the process. And after I went ahead and looked at everybody and looked at all their stats and their tape, I got even more excited when I saw the undrafted free agents. This is honestly probably if you want to say, the best undrafted free agent class that any team has signed. I'm just so excited to see, especially some of them I think will make the 53-man roster.
Yeah, I would agree too, because, you know, the beauty of this draft, as you and I both have said, and I think Jack has said a ton, is that it's so deep at so many different positions. I mean, I guess there was some lighter depth at other positions, but it was still fairly deep pretty much across the board. I would argue that maybe quarterback was one of the weaker quarterback was one of the weaker areas of this draft, you know? So, I mean, obviously the upper half of it was pretty, you know, it was top heavy, but, you know, with the receiver class, the linebacker class, the defensive line class, surprisingly, is still fairly deep. I mean, I think there was a jump down in talent after a little bit there, especially on the end part of it, but the cornerbacks, safeties, things like that, they were still out there. And some of those names were pretty surprising as far as, you know, who signed where and who was available, you know, whether it was an injury issue, and that could still be because of the whole COVID thing where they may have sat out a year, you know, so there were some unknowns there. It could have been a fresh injury that they, you know, or a fresh surgery that they may have come off that injury from the prior year, or those sort of things. So it was interesting to see those names that were still out there. I mean, I think we've thrown a couple of these out there, but you had Moses from Alabama, the linebacker. You had Ardarius Washington, which I think Jack was high on coming out from TCU. Sage Surratt, who we picked up. Adams, who we picked up as well, the receiver. I think if he was in any other class, or if he was in a higher competition of school, he probably would have gone in this draft, you know? So I was impressed with the undrafted free agents. The linemen that we picked up, I think, are exciting. They're intriguing options there. I do believe we can have potentially, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself, but potentially a starter at right guard. So I think it's exciting. It really is. Like I said before, I have to keep reining myself back because the excitement is true. It's there. And it's not like this false hope. I don't think. I think it's a different a different feeling all the way around. I mean, yeah, you still want that. Yeah, they're going to the Super Bowl type feeling, but they're not. We know that.
Right.
But, you know, and we've said this, hammered this over and over again, that this is going to be a competitive team, I believe. And we just saw that the schedule came out. That's one thing that in the opener there that I forgot to mention too. So a lot has happened since the 7 rounds of the draft that we just watched. So,
Right.
you know, I'm not going to make any predictions because we don't know. There's so many changes that, I mean, everybody's saying, oh, they're going to be 10-7, or they're going to be 8-9, or they're going to be, you know, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever the math is anymore. You know, I can't predict that, you know, because we don't know what Chicago is going to be. We have no idea what Green Bay is going to be.
Right.
Minnesota may be exactly what they are, but maybe a little worse for wear on defense. I don't know. So, I mean, those are 6 of our 17 games right there. So even looking at our division opponents, it's really difficult to predict kind of where we're going to be placed against those guys, I guess. So that's what's exciting about it. I mean, we know we're not one piece away, but we do know that there was some significant turnover in some of those positions. And that's what gets me excited, is because they turned it over with some talented kids after watching their tape. You know, at first, I think we both said that we were surprised a little bit with who we selected and when we selected them. But, you know, Sewell aside, I think that we've got some steel of some players, and you saw some of the disappointment that some of the teams following us had, namely the Eagles. Sorry, Eagles fans. But they still got a heck of a player in Williams, I think, too, Milton Williams. So it just shows you the depth of the draft. You know, you're disappointed you didn't get your guy, but I think you still got a decent player. So, and I think we fell in that category as well. Now, I didn't realize that Holmes was trying to trade back up into the first to get Levi. I had no clue.
Yeah.
And I read some of that as well. Now, that would have shocked me even more, but I'm trusting the process on this thing because we just don't know.
And that's the thing. I'm agreeing with you wholeheartedly. And that's why Mike, he said it perfectly in his tweet a couple days ago. Once the schedule came out, we're like you just said, we're not going to go ahead and predict what we're going to get. We're going to take it game by game, week by week. So, and of course you have all the fans that are saying, oh, we're going to go this and this. I'm like, no, we honestly don't even know who's going to be our starters yet, because there is too many players that honestly, whether or not they were drafted, undrafted, or if they were second or third stringers from last season, that could easily pop into the starting role. There's too many undecided factors for the Lions team to go ahead and go that far as to saying, oh, they're going to be this team or this team. So, and I agree with you on the Packers. We have no idea what they're going to do. Of course, if Rodgers is gone, it's could hinder our chances of whether or not we beat the Packers both games, or if we get second in the division. Who honestly, who cares at that time? Right now, it's just the Lions and the Lions only. I don't care about any other team. I want to just take it week by week and let the coaching staff do what they do best, which is coach.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the beauty of this whole thing is, and you said it spot on, that it's gonna, in my opinion too, is game by game, and really throughout that game as well, because so many things the biggest thing that I'm really excited for this year is to kind of see what their in-game adjustments are, because we were poor at that. Or our initial game preparation was very poor, and we were able to adjust a little bit, but we were already out of it at that point and it didn't matter. So that's a different kind of competitiveness, I guess. That's one of those where it's like, okay, well, yeah, we got left behind early, but we caught back up. So yay us. No, I want this. We're competitive all the way across, even if we lose by, 14. I mean, it's 2 touchdowns. That can easily happen. But if you are there neck and neck every play, bad breaks here or there or whatever, good plays by the defense of the other team. I mean, that's what I want to see, is this back and forth game. Do I want us to win? Absolutely, I do. But I just think that we've already won with what we're seeing. And, maybe the first few games, yeah, it's probably shaky, but it's going to be shaky for everybody. Everybody's new at this point, except maybe Tampa Bay. They've got everybody back, but and then got better, in my opinion. So, I mean, you can look at some of the marquee matchups, I think, in those schedules. With some of the players that we know we got and things like that. So I think that's what's the fun part about what's going on. So I'm very, very excited about the draft class. I like everybody that we've chosen. I'm getting more and more excited about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I really am. I think after watching more of his tape, Goff is going to love him. I really do believe that. And I think Hawkinson is going to be one of your main staples. I think instantly he is better just because I think Goff likes his tight ends. I do. I think, I mean, we saw that with Everett and Higbee in LA. So it's gonna be fun. And then of course we have Swifty back there. He's just, if barring injury, and I tweeted this earlier, barring injury, he's going to have a career year. I mean, that's just no ifs, ands, or buts, because I mean, obviously he's building off of last year, but he's got a better line. He's got a running coach now. I mean, as far as Anthony Lynn goes, I mean, I think he wants to establish the run a little bit differently than what Bevel did. Bevel wanted to get that running game going to set up the pass, but I think Anthony Lynn wants to run to set up the run. You know what I mean? I think that's the mentality we're going to see. And then there's going to be some play action and stuff like that. So it's going to be exciting. I'm not going to grade this team at all until maybe midway. By then they should be what we can see that's what they are. I mean, of course they can get better or worse throughout the season, but maybe 4, 5, 6 games in, we'll have an idea how these guys are going to be. And then you can make the rest of the season predictions and stuff like that. So, especially if injuries happen. So,
right.
But speaking of injuries, what do you think of the Kerryon Johnson news? I mean, he's not injured, obviously, but I think that's what kind of hurt his chances going forward.
And I agree with you. Whenever we talked about KJ, definitely when we first started this podcast, the fact of whether or not it was all mental, whether or not mental and physical, or just physical, whether or not whatever it was, I think after last season, you saw little flashes of him. Whether or not it's still in his head, I don't know if he can get back to his rookie season ways. It sucks that injuries happen, especially after last year. All those ACLs, all those players like Saquon and Bosa, all those players tore their ACLs, and it sucks. But especially for a running back, you need your knees to be 100% healthy. Otherwise, you're just going to ruin your chances for the team. So I'm happy that he gets to go to a team that he might be able to have more of a chance of playing. But in my opinion, he's going straight to another Detroit Lions. Their running back room is crowded. And if I was him, I would have chosen maybe Atlanta or the Dolphins. But
I was thinking Buffalo. I think Buffalo would have been a heck of a spot for him to go. But teams like that, yeah, you're right. I mean, Philly's got a lot of running backs there. I mean, they still don't even know what they're going to do with Miles Sanders. And he still is a heck of a back, so it's interesting.
And they just drafted Gainwell from Memphis.
They might as well get them all. Who else you want? So, well, it is the Philadelphia Lions anyways, isn't it? I mean, we're going to be playing them this year. That'll be an interesting battle with Slay back there. And I mean, obviously it's going to be different with Stafford not being at the helm, but there's a lot of teams that we're going to be playing this year that have ex-Lions that are playing prominent roles now in other teams. And I kind of like that because before it's like nobody wants to pick up the Lions castaways, or they don't make it long enough and they move to another team, and then they're out of the league. But there's some staple names out there now. I mean, we all give Bob Quinn crap and Patricia crap, but they were still some talented players on this team. They just couldn't put them together. So I think this year we've got competent coaching that can do that. And you're going to start seeing this team more so instead of bringing in the veterans, you're going to see the young ones step up. And again, I liken it to the Pistons again. And I love that because your youth movement, they're going to move together. And we see that with the signing of, Frank Ragnow joining back on for another 4 years on top of his 2. You've got Sewell with the 5-year deal he's got, Decker's here for another couple of years. So that youth movement is going to be together for 4 to 5 years. And that's what's really cool about it. And your running backs, I mean, you've got the two guys you've got. I mean, yeah, you've got Williams for 2 years, but he may play himself into another contract. And now you got some guys in here that are here for 3-4 more years. So,
Right.
I mean, again, if Swift stays healthy, he's going to be re-signed. I don't see how you can let him walk. You're going to pay that guy.
Right.
So the interesting thing will be, what do we do at receiver? And I think you hit on it earlier in the opening. I think the receivers that we pulled in an undrafted free agency, I think they're going to make this roster, and they're going to have some impact on it as well. So that's cool. I mean, offense, I think, is going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. I really do. And I think Goff is going to be unleashed. I mean, I'm rolling with Goff. I'm sold with him, man. I think he's going to have, he's got it right there. Take it and run.
And I'm hoping with this great staff that we put together, and with the young team that we're now building, which I love because it reminds me of the Cleveland Browns, where they were first probably in the top 4 for I don't know how many years in the first round for the picks. And now you're starting to see they're getting their stuff together after last year. Oh man, I was rooting for them. I was hoping they would go ahead and go to the Super Bowl. And that's why I'm getting more and more excited, because now we're starting to turn into, if you want to say, the Cleveland Browns. The only thing is, I'm hoping that if we have a sizable lead in the first half, we better not lose it in the second half. There's been too many times. It is the normal Lions thing to do over the past 5 years. Honestly, probably even more. Once you have a lead and that is sizable, the one that sticks out the most is Arizona Cardinals.
Yep.
You were up by 21 points. You have to hold on to that. You have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to hold on to it. And that's why I'm hoping with this, if you want to say more experienced team, they're going to go ahead and uplift them. They're not going to let their heads go down if they throw an interception or they fumble or the other team scores a touchdown. They're going to go ahead and try to boost their morale right away so that they're not going to have time to go ahead and lower their heads. So I'm really excited to see what the staff is able to do in turning in these young players like Sewell, like Jonah Jackson, like Ragnow, all those guys, and turning them into leaders and captains for the future.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard room to pick a captain. You know what I mean? On that line later on in life, for sure. Yeah, that's, I think you've expressed your frustrations just like all the other Lions fans have with the whole put the pedal down and just go, step on. I mean, I hate to use this term, but step on the throat, go in for the kill. But they tend to back off and say, okay, well, we've got the lead. Now we're just going to play not to lose. Well, in the end, you either tie or you lose, and a tie is a loss anyways, because it actually hurt us in draft position and stuff like that. Right. So, I mean, it's just one of those things too, that I just don't see it this year. I think there's going to be a no nonsense in a friendly manner, if that makes any sense. I mean, Patricia was a no nonsense and he'd cut you down. Of course, you're not going to play well after that, after you get cut down. But, I think that, and we've referenced this before too, the scene that you see when he's coaching the Miami Dolphins kid, where he missed a block, turned around and, he ripped into him, but he did it an educational way and basically said, get after him. You've got this, do your thing. And he turned around and plastered the guy on the next play, So, and it was a safe looking block too. It's not like the guy got hurt either. So, I mean, it was just one of those things that's what I see with this coaching staff. I think they're getting excited too. And then when you get, players like Levi, who basically you have to get mad at him to slow down or to ring it in. Those are the players you want. You don't want to have to coach these guys to make them play. You want to take these guys and say, okay, now you got to start playing within the rules and, that sort of thing, slow down a little bit so you don't hurt yourself. But yeah, I think this is a good situation to be in. Segueing back to the Kerryon thing. Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I really was rooting for Kerryon. I liked him coming out of the draft. Just kind of one of those under the radar players in college that you really didn't hear too much on, but just really steady that first year that he was here. I mean, he had some bad breaks with the injuries. So I can understand maybe the coaching staff saying, okay, well, we really like you. We want you to be here, but we're into that point of the season that we'd rather allow you to jump on with another team instead of hang on to you to those last round of cuts. And now you have to go learn a new system. So I think that was kind of an attaboy for the Lions group there, which kind of made it weird for us. I don't think we're used to that stuff, letting a decent player go this early in the process, going, okay, new coaching staff, new playbook, new everything, revitalize, carry on with his injuries, that sort of thing. But it allowed him to go do the rest that he needed to do for his career. So knowing that we have two guys that we can rely on at this point, and we drafted a guy and took in two undrafted free agents, plus you still have some decent running backs out in the free agent market. So I think it was okay now that I look back on it. At first I was shocked just because, we had talked about it saying, man, we got to get him involved. He's got to be on the field, those sort of things. So I thought it was weird at first, but now I understand it. Do I still want him on this team? Yeah, of course I do, because I was rooting for him, but I get it. I get it now. So now I'm rooting for Swift and I'm rooting for Jamal. And now knowing that they're going to get those touches split pretty evenly between the two of them, I would be willing to say that Swift is going to get a lot more carries than what we're saying. But again, I don't want him to get hurt. So we got to play smart with that as well. So, and then we look at the tight end group. We had Josh Hill surprisingly retiring, which also I can get. I mean, he's not old by any means, but he's got a family. You've got the move that you were talking about last week or the last time we got together that, it's quite a few states away. You're coming from the south to the north. You're moving your kids, uprooting them, your spouse, you're uprooting her. So that's a lot to take in. And if, you're worried about kind of your future and growing up with your kids, absolutely. I'm not going to condone you for that at all. Plus he's set up if he did it smartly. So people were kind of ragging on him going, why are you signing a contract and then retiring however many days later? Well, what does it matter? You're still early in the off season. Let the guy go, let him do his thing. And with Darren Fells, man, I didn't want to get rid of him in 2017 after that season. So to get him back a couple of years later and get some more experience under his belt, and now he can come into a tight end room that I think is going to be a good situation for him. He can share those experiences that he has. He can, help Hockenson with his blocking a little bit more, even though he's pretty darn good at it. It's another red zone target. It's another tight end that Goff can throw to, which, like I mentioned, he likes the tight ends. And if you can run some 2 tight end sets, look out. And then who knows, maybe that makes Tyrell Williams' job and Brashad Perryman's job and Cephas's job that much better. So it could be a scary offense if it clicks. So we'll have to see how long it takes to click.
Right. And I definitely agree with you. I was actually a little surprised that we went ahead and signed Fells, because I actually kind of forgot that the Texans let him go or didn't re-sign him, which is a really big blow to them, because right now their team is not, I don't think, is set for the season.
It's a mess.
It's a dumpster fire. And so that was their first mistake. And I agree with you. I did not want to let him go. He's a huge 6'7" body. He can easily help us out in the red zone. And I, like what you said, help Hockenson even better himself with the blocking game. The best type of tight end is any player is dual threat. If you can block and you can catch, then in my opinion, you should be the star player of the offense. So if he can, and we already touched on this before, if he can catch the ball without falling down, I think, and he can increase his blocking skills a little bit more, he will easily be a top 5 tight end in fantasy football and in the NFL, possibly top 3.
I would agree. I think you're exactly right. And the fact that, man, you stay on your feet, you can lay some punishment there too, and not necessarily leave your feet like we saw against, I don't remember who they were playing, but he tried to leap that defender and came down hard. And then he was out for, I believe, quite a few games after that. So we don't want that. I mean, I'm not saying that, but if you can get through there and drop a shoulder or, throw a stiff arm or whatever and get another 10 yards, don't just catch and fall and try to get up. You've already lost all your momentum. And a lot of times that I saw that it was in the red zone. So it's like, all you needed was 6-7 more yards and you'd have been fine. In his size, he should get that with his momentum. So Especially with some of the lighter tight ends that they're going to have probably, or lighter linebackers that they're going to try to have to guard him with, because these big guys aren't going to keep up. So he's a weapon for sure. I think he's one of those guys that is only going to get better and better. And that's, again, you have to start looking at not a succession plan, but a retention plan in some of these players, because, he's going into year, what, 4, 3, 4?
I think this is year 3.
So, I mean, he's got 2 years left with a 5th year option, which I'm sure will be picked up, but that's not that far away. And
Right.
especially if his stats climb, you got to start thinking about, financial, the monetary value of TJ. Plus you're going to run into this to where you've got to make a choice with some of these guys. And these guys should be looked at now, which I wouldn't be surprised if they're already looking at that. But because you got a lot of money invested in that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So, depending on what the cap situation ends up being, and then you've got a lot of money actually in the defensive line as well, if you think about it that way too. So your trenches are pretty stout money wise. So you got to be careful with some of these playmakers that you still need. So I think receivers are more replaceable. I think Jack hit on that quite a few episodes ago, but you can usually find those guys in the later rounds or in free agency or whatever, or via trade, and still be okay. Whereas the tight ends that you just mentioned that are kind of an all-around tight end are kind of a diamond in the rough. And then you've got a running back who is pretty darn scary on his feet too. So those guys, I think you got to start looking to lock up for sure. And you'll have money with Goff, depending on if you do cut him after 2 years or trade him or whatever. I mean, at that point, we already know he's kind of that stopgap, at least early on. But if he succeeds, you're going to have to look at his contract situation too, as to what happens. Because again, he's only 26. So this nucleus of players, you could carry for quite a few years and do some pretty good things with it. So.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be really awesome to watch. I know I'm younger than most fans, but I don't think I can ever remember, besides the 2014 season when we went 11-4 or 11-5. That season, oh my God! Well, we had a top 5 defense, we had a top 5 offense. We weren't behind in the games that we needed to come back, and I think I'm even more excited than that season. So that really says something. And it's only because of the staff that we have put together that is going to go ahead and put this team on the map for hopefully the seasons to come. The only thing is, if we go ahead and turn it around in 2 or 3 years, how many coaches could leave to go get better positions with other teams, possibly even a head coaching job?
Yeah, you could see quite a few of them getting back into the head coaching. I mean, Lynn could work himself back into a head coaching position. You could see Deuce Staley. Obviously, he's already in the assistant head coach position right now. So he's grooming to be a head coach. And I think Campbell even said in one of his pressers that he's expecting to lose Deuce, at some point here. So yeah, but that's where your retention and your succession plan and your coaching staff has to happen almost daily, because you have to look at some of these up and coming guys that you can bring up, the assistant coaches and stuff like that. So I think that, or the positional coaches or whatever it may be, that can step in. And if you can get that camaraderie between them and the understanding between them, that should just be pretty much a good handoff at that point. Grooming them. You may even find a steal later on that makes sense as well, and you can add them to it. So some of those coaching staffs can do that. But you see some of them are just, they stay intact. They'd rather be here because they've built it from the ground up. 2, they want to be a part of a legacy. And 3, if there's any way potentially that you can get those, 3 Pete's, 4 Pete's, 5 Pete's, whatever, the dynasty mode, why not stick around? You're going to get paid to stay here too. So I think we're getting ahead of ourselves for sure, but I just see that potential there. And we may be completely wrong. We may be just full of it and we have a horrible season. I don't know, but it's still excitement there. And it's a positive excitement. It's not one of these false, you just have this, I've got to be positive because we know it's going to be bad feeling,
right?
So, and I don't have that this time. This is genuine excitement to see what they can build with this. This is cool.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to trash Patricia or anything because I'm not normally that type of person to go ahead and criticize them. But the way he ran the team, it was wrong. It was more of like to me, it was like a military academy. And even one of the fans, or not fans, one of the players even tweeted that before. That there was no fun in it. It was all just drills, and you had to do it this way, and that was it. Now that he's gone, there is like a huge, to me, it's a huge elephant lifted off everybody's chest. And that's why, like I said earlier, I agree with Mike. You can't, it's going to be a different game each and every week. Doesn't matter what happened, win or loss or tied the week before, or whether or not there's injuries. It's going to be a new team, new game each and every week. And that's why I'm most excited about is seeing how they go ahead and look at the film or practice, but still make it fun and enjoyable to go ahead and bring that enthusiasm into Sunday's games or Monday's games or even Thanksgiving Day game.
Yeah. Yep. The one game at a time mentality is a true ism now instead of a Patricia ism where he's just like, I don't want to talk about it. Now, this one's the actual, we're not going to think about it. We're going to do this game. We're going to game plan here. And you're going to see how ignorant, I'll say it that way, I guess lightly, that how ignorant Patricia was in his ways, that he wasn't going to, he was going to set his playbook and his philosophy in every game, no matter what. And I don't think you can do that because this league is ever changing. And so I think with this coaching staff that we have, with Campbell's coaching staff, is you're going to see, again, we're going to put our best player on your worst player. Doesn't matter who you are. We'll stick within our belief of our playbook, but we're also going to adjust that playbook as we go based on how we know we can kick you in the teeth, So I like that mentality, and it'll be curious to see how well the players respond to that, because you've already heard Jeff Okudah say this is light years ahead of last year, and he was already coming in at a disadvantage being a rookie in a pandemic year. So is he going to have a step up in this league this year? I don't know. That's for him to decide and for us to see, but his attitude is completely different this year for sure. So, and I think that's going to trickle to everybody that comes in.
Yeah.
And that should help the defense in general. I mean, we know that the defense is a problem or has been a problem, but we don't know what we have. They were so historically bad last year on a defense that they were not keen to. They just did not understand it, in my mind. I mean, there were so many missed assignments, if you want to call that, because I don't even know if they knew where they were supposed to be originally on paper. How do you call it a missed assignment? It's just apparently there was a hole there, but there could have been 3 people that messed up, So this one, they're going to allow them to play free within their scheme, but they're going to let them do what they do best. And I think that's going to be huge. And so we should see a step up there. So I don't know. I'm not going to make any schedule predictions or any record predictions, at least, until we can get into this a little bit. And then I can say, oh, well, I could see them winning maybe 3 more. I don't even want to go game by game and say they're going to win this one, lose this one, win this one, because we don't know.
Correct.
So,
as long as we have 11 players on offense and defense, I'm happy. Right there.
Every single play. Not multiple times in the same game. I mean, that's a true testament of not knowing on paper versus on field too. So, I mean, they were doubly confused.
Oh my gosh.
So, but yeah, I mean, we just recapped a ton of stuff. I mean, this last 2 weeks has been full. It really has. I mean, this is the slower part, just waiting for these camps to start, but this weekend's going to get busy. So it'll be great to see some of those guys come in. Again, I know it's not a big deal to anything else besides maybe some of the fans, but I'm interested to see what these guys look like in their new uniforms. I'm interested to see these guys get on the field and line up and just see how they act with their new teammates, how the rookie class kind of grows together. And then just to see some of the skill set that the undrafted class can actually throw out there, because I would love to see some of those guys come in and start or be a positive reserve, so. And then there's also more free agency. I mean, we're going to have cut downs, so you're going to see some shifting and things like that. So that's also exciting as well. So Yeah, this is cool. This is really cool. And I know I keep saying that, and I know I keep playing like I'm the homer guy and want this team to succeed just because I do. And I've seen what the potential of some of these teams can be, even going back to the Barry years. I mean, they were good, but just not good enough. And in the early 2000s, they had some good players and good plays and some good games, but it just was not there. I mean, last year, again, we couldn't even come back in the games that we did. We couldn't close them. In 2000, and I don't remember what year, that we won 8 games comeback. I mean, those were great, but we shouldn't have won them, so it really, it was just, it's kind of disappointing to look back on that last decade of games and just look and go, man, what a waste. And that's not, I'm not dogging on any of the coaching. It's just, you see what they had, all these talented players, but it never came together. So it'll be curious. I'm curious to see how this coaching staff puts this group of players together. And that's what I'm most excited about. And I think they're on the right track. I think the GM has a perfect head on his shoulders, and I've agreed with everything so far. I've questioned a few things, but I haven't dogged him for it. It's one of those where now you look at it and go, oh, okay, I see where they're going with this now. So
I got 2 questions actually for you.
Okay.
Out of the undrafted free agent class, which one do you see the most potential in making the 53-man roster?
Quite a few of them, actually. I think there's
Yeah.
probably 3 of them. I think you've got the guard. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but the guard
Drake.
out of Notre Dame. Yeah.
Drake Jackson.
Yep.
I think, or that's one from Kentucky.
He's from Kentucky, but what's the one from Notre Dame? I think Drake's got a good chance to make it too. He came in as a center, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if they're going to push him over to guard or anything too, because I don't see Ragnow moving. But both of those linemen, I think you could see coming in and being role players there. But if I had to choose one, I'm going with Adams. I think just his style of play is kind of jaw-dropping. And right now, the only person that I could see that we have on our team that can match that right now would be Hockenson. And so I think you need to get a little bit more of that. I mean, Hawkinson's athletic, don't get me wrong, but I think this kid can high point the football. I think if he has a quarterback that can actually throw him the ball a little bit better than maybe some of the quarterbacks he had at school, and maybe he can get some more on that speed. Obviously, his game speed is different than his 40, but his athleticism is off the chart, and I think he can stick just with that alone. So, and I really like Surratt too. I think he can stick as well, just because we need some wide receiver help. But if I had to stick with one, I'd have to go with Adams.
There we go. Now it unfroze.
Did it? Did you hear anything?
Sort of.
Well, hopefully it was recording and everybody online can hear me. But I basically said that, there could probably be, 3 or 4 pretty easy choices there. But if I had to choose one, I'm going with Adams.
Okay.
The receiver out of Arkansas State, because I think he's going to have a little bit better talent around him. Nothing against Arkansas State, but I think he's going to have better talent around him. And I think with the presence of Hockenson in the middle, Swift out of the backfield, and Amon-Ra in the slot, I think that's going to open up those outsides pretty well. So anybody who's lined out, and I think Terrell Williams is going to have a better season than anybody else they brought in free agency wise. I really do. Is he going to be his, 1,100 yards in one season? Probably not. But if you give me 700 yards and 8 touchdowns, I'll take it all day long. But I think he's going to get that because those outside receivers are going to be open, running down the middle, post routes and everything, especially if you can establish the run game and you can do those short intermediate routes with Hockenson. He's going to pull some of those safeties and some linebackers away, and those guys are going to be open. They just have to come down with it. So if you've got a guy that can come down with the ball like Adams, I'm going with Adams.
Okay.
Plus I like underdogs too.
All righty. So I don't know if you saw this article earlier, but it was like projecting the first game roster for the Lions, the starting rotation. So it had Trey Flowers, McNeil, and Brockers up front. So since we're doing a 3-4, and then it has both Aquaras as the outside linebackers with
So
Collins,
Sam and Will.
right, and then Collins and Anzalone in the middle. What's your first impression when you look at it, seeing both Aquara brothers as the outside linebackers?
Oh, I like it. I think their athleticism is crazy good too. I think Julian's kind of that dark horse because we didn't see a ton of him last year, but his numbers at Notre Dame before getting hurt were eye popping. Like he should have been drafted much higher if he stayed that entire season. And he didn't really get a good break. I don't know if he had something out with the coaches or whatever, but even when he was healthy, you didn't see him on the field very, very much. But I think Romeo Okwara is going to be the same. I don't think he's going to change at all. Actually, I think he's going to get slightly better with the coaching staff that we have. Just the fire and the free. But the nice thing is he's got the added bonus of the 2 DTs that we just took and Brockers coming in. So the DT room just got enormously better. I mean, I know that Shelton did okay, and I know that Penasini was a pleasant surprise, but I think that I would take the 3 that we got over the 2 that we're giving away pretty much at that point. I mean, I think Penasini is going to find some role on this team. I do. I just think he's good. He's one of those guys you don't want to give up on because he had a great year on a bad team, so I think you have to reward him obviously with his rookie contract. He's cheap and all that stuff. So, but I think the Aquara boys, I think they're going to do well. Obviously, if they can stay healthy, that's the key is who's going to stay healthy with, the off season. You're going to have a better off season program this year. So I think you might see a lot of those ACLs and Achilles and hamstrings and fatigue and dehydration, all that stuff kind of come down versus last year. So I think they'll do pretty well. I'd like to see Onwuzurike in there a little bit more than, I love Aleem McNeil. And if it's that 3-4, but then if you have that 3-3-5, who sits, you've got a pretty good rotation there. Do you throw some 4-3 in there because you still have Deshaun Hand, who could be a heck of a player this year too. And Bryant, you still don't know what you have with Bryant. So, I mean, he flashed a couple times too last year. So, I mean, you get these guys back off of injury. Are they going to be a shell of themselves and you just get splash plays from them? Or are you going to get true production out of these guys? So I think with the depth chart that you just read, I think that's pretty solid. I think Anzalone is kind of a sneaky signing. I think he's going to do well if he stays healthy. Again, that's that running theme. I'm guessing the outside or the corners were Okudah, Oruwariye, and Elder, or did they have Dunbar in there?
They actually only had 2 corners. Huh.
So the 00?
Yeah. And then they had Harrison Walker for the.
Yeah, I see that. I would start with Harris. Do I want an upgrade there? Probably, but I want to give him a chance too. I mean, he was drafted into a crappy situation. And obviously none of the safeties played well, even Harmon and Wilson when they were in there. They had no clue. So, and I don't know if that was just Steve Gregory's fault. I don't know if that was the defensive coordinator's fault. We don't know, but defensive backs were horrible last year. Yeah. Nobody was in position. So that group plus Elder and Dunbar, and now you've got Melifonwu in there and a couple other signings. You still have Mike Ford, who's a decent fill-in player. So that could be better. Does Melifonwu bounce between safety and corner? Do they see him as a big safety? That's a question I think I have for you too, because I think he's 6'3". He might be on the lighter side, but he could be that strong safety in the box player. I think you froze up again. I don't know if you're going to unlock, but unless you're sitting really, really still. There you go.
Connection is terrible over here, so.
Hey, that's okay.
Honestly,
I mean, I like him at corner, but
it all goes back to the staff. I really think a lot of these players, you can already tell with Okudah has gelled with all of the coordinators on the defensive side so far.
Yeah.
But it's just going to go back to how they're going to be coaching the players and seeing the difference between last year. Because once Patricia was gone, of course, our defense was still terrible, but it showed that they were having fun while doing it. So, like we've already said multiple times, it's going to go back to the coaching and seeing how they were able to gel with the players. So, if they go ahead, and the thing I liked what Campbell said is he's going to go ahead and just going way back to his first conference. We're going to put our best players on your worst players. So, whoever, if they play better at a certain position, by all means, go ahead and put them there. So, if Melifonwu wants or plays exceptionally well at safety, by all means, go ahead and put him there. Does not mean he has to stay there, but in case of injuries or something, go ahead. Yeah, of course, put him back there. Just, I want to see who is able to contribute the best and give us the best chance of winning. In my opinion, right there is the starters. So, Bryant and Hand, of course, it sucks that they got injured. It was nice seeing Bryant get those pump blocks last season. But I would be okay if they would be one of the last few cuts in order to bring in, let's say, Adams or Surratt or even some of the offensive linemen. So I just wanted to go ahead and bring in the best players that will give us the best chance.
And freeze. He's frozen. We'll wait. He's all right. He's okay. He's good. There he is. It's comical. It's fun, you know. Got to deal with it. But hey, I'm going to make a quick segue here. I don't know if you saw this shirt, but Mr. Lion Mane sent me one.
Yeah, I like it.
So, go follow Lion Mane on Twitter because I don't have his handle out here, but all you got to do is search Lion Mane. You're going to find him. But this shirt was by TJ Custom Creation in Saginaw, Michigan. So take a look at them online. I'm doing a little plug there for them, but man, they've got some pretty cool stuff. It's got Lion Mane on there, but apparently they will create some sort of little cartoon meme for you. Obviously there's a fee involved in it, but they've got a bunch of stuff on the back. So
that's sweet.
I showed up. It showed up in my house one day. I'm like, well, man, that was cool. So I'm actually going to hang it up over here above the fridge eventually, but I thought I would wear it at least for today's episode and give them a shout out. So there they are. So go ahead and pause that. And then there you go. But they check them out on Twitter. Actually, I don't even think they're on Twitter. They're on Facebook at TJS Custom Creation, both with K's, Custom and Creation. They're on Instagram as well, TJS Custom Creations as well. So that's awesome. I like it. Thanks, Maine. And thanks, TJ Customs, for your cool artwork. But anyways, yeah, I can't get over my excitement here. I'm going to be analyzing this weekend. I don't know. Obviously, we're not going to have much televised, but I think DetroitLions.com will probably have the rookie minicamp streamed in some fashion. So I'm going to take a look at that, and hopefully we can get on here and break them down maybe on Monday or Tuesday of next week and see how we thought that they did and kind of some updates on Sewell and how he's doing. But hopefully he's got a false positive and he's just dealing with it. So maybe he can still get here. Who knows? But I'm sure he'll be here in due time. And then when they get OTAs going, he'll be just fine. So, he sat out the entire year, so he'll just do his regimen, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm excited about this team, man. I can't tell you that too many times. So I got to rope it back again. That's what I'm going to say over and over again. And I tell you what, I'm getting to a game this year. I don't know which game yet, but it will be a home game. I'd love to do a road game at some point, but I'm definitely going to get to a home game this year. So we will have to link up if we can. If not, it'll still be fun. So this is one of those years that I think it's just going to be And I think the news just broke today that they're thinking about allowing stadiums to go to 100% capacity too. So that's awesome. And then the CDC just read something. I just a few hours ago that they said that now vaccinated people don't have to mask. I mean, I'm not saying don't mask. I'm going to be smart and still mask, but you're starting to see these things open up. So I think that the sporting realm is going to get very exciting again, which will be cool because Ford Field needs to be loud for any sort of help on that offense and defense. So, and the fans are crazy, which is cool. So it'd be nice to get everybody back in there. So, but with all that, Sam, I think I'm ready to wrap it up unless I missed something you want to hit on real quick. If not, we can jump on hopefully Monday or Tuesday next week and kind of see what rookie minicamp is. Maybe we can just do a segue on that and go from there.
Yeah, definitely sounds good. Yeah, I think we hit every checklist. If we had a list to go ahead and go over.
I don't have one.
Good, over today, I think we hit everything that we possibly could. So, sure. Like, yeah, I'm ready for preseason. I actually might be going up to Detroit for one of the preseason games. So, because they're only, I think they're under $50 and you're only a couple rows away from the field.
Oh, not too bad. Maybe I'll look into that too. What's that in early August? Usually.
Yeah, I think it was the Bills. It was like August 21st.
That might have to be one that I can take on too. So maybe I can get to a couple of them this year. It just depends on if the wife lets this ball and chain go with me. Love you, wife. Sorry if you see this.
Oh, you got to bring her with you.
Yeah, I've been working on her I've been with her for, what are we now? We were freshmen in high school when we started dating. So 99. So we're going on 21 years together. Or we have been together 21 years. We've been married since 2008, so 13 years this year. So in August. So I got to be careful. But she's not a huge sports fan. I've been working on her for 21 years. And she's hard-headed. I love you, wife. But I might fly solo on this one. So, we'll see. My cousin John is a huge, he's more like a brother to me. So he's a huge Lions fan. Maybe I can get him to go with me too.
Okay, yeah.
So, but we'll get this rolling, and I'm sure if we post it that we're going, we can get this Lion One Pride crazy group going over there too, and link up with them. I've already talked with Mike. Mike, if you're watching this, I talked to you as well. I'll try to get a hold of you as well if we do get to one. So hopefully we can kind of tailgate this thing and have some fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, all right, man. Well, you have yourself a good rest of the week, which was only one day. And an even better weekend. So hopefully we can catch some of this rookie stuff and put some more out on our podcast. So if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening in. If you're watching this on YouTube, as always, hit the subscribe button so you can see Sam and I and Jack's pretty face more often. So and we'll go from there. But yeah, I'm cool, man.
All right, sounds good. And as always, one pride.
And go Lions.